This is a big day for us. We're announcing what I think of already as the next generation of AI-powered Bing and Edge. It's only been 90 days since our original launch. The thing we're trying to tackle is the notion that half of people's searches are going unanswered. Today, we think about the next generation really having about 4 elements to it. One is we're moving from a limited preview to an open preview, so anyone now can come and use Bing. Second is we're moving from really a text-heavy interface to one now that is really rich in multimedia. So it's got images and videos. So when you ask questions and you chat, we can actually answer with images and videos. The third is that not only is it a kind of a one-time use, but now it's becoming really more of a full-fledged productivity tool. So we now save your chats and you can keep them. So if you're doing research over multiple days, your chats are there. If you want to share them, we now provide an export and share feature so you can share with friends and family to collaborate. And we actually do it nicely within Edge so that if you're chatting and you find a link that you want to go explore, we keep your chat persistent on the right side of the page while you're looking at that web page. And then the last big change is we're moving from just an individual product to a platform. So now third parties can write plugins to make the experience better. So for example, I was using Bing Chat yesterday to find good restaurants in New York to go eat after the work I was doing. And now OpenTable can fire in that window. And with one click, I can go ahead and book the restaurants I find with OpenTable. So that's an example. Those are the 4 things that we're doing, building on top of the great progress we've had with Bing and Edge to date.
So at some point I would be able to say, okay, plan me a trip to Hawaii. And it would, if there's a plugin available or the developer puts it in there, I would be able to essentially do that whole workflow through there.
Correct. So you'll be able to, basically call, for example, a travel plugin, and then it'll be able to automate that task. It might probably likely go to the travel site, but all of that research and context that you were doing will transfer over with you. So it'll really simplify the process.
All right, I just want to get to some numbers real quick. There was mention of daily average users. What are you seeing on Bing so far, and what kind of searches are people primarily doing?
Yeah, so since we've launched the new Bing, we have crossed a big threshold. We're now over 100 million people who use it every day. That's a big number, but it's obviously very small relative to the overall market. We're probably still just single digits in terms of usage. The big thing we're learning is chat is what everyone's really excited about. Chat is the big thing that's transforming the experience. We've had over 500 million chats since we've launched in 90 days. And within those, we've had over 200 million images created because you can now just use your words and text to create images. The thing we're learning is people are really using chat to search. About 70% of what people are chatting for is things that you typically find in a search engine, in a search session. And so the transformation of search is definitely underway.
I guess, when you look at the next steps, where do you see Bing going? And I guess, you talk about the single digits as far as market share. Is the goal to continue to creep that up? I know there was talk that I think Microsoft had put out numbers that each % of market share equates to about $2 billion in revenue. So is the idea to really kind of transform this and become the de facto leader in the search space?
Well, as you point out, the search category, we should say first off, is the largest software category in the world. And as you quoted, correctly, it's about $500 billion. So 1 point of search share is worth quite a bit. For us, we don't need to completely change the world. If we can even grow a couple points of share, that is a very big deal for us as a company. And really more importantly, it's a big deal for consumers because it'll bring more competition. It'll bring a new experience. And that's what we're focused on. And we're having some good success thus far. Edge share has been growing over the last 8 quarters in a row. And since the launch of Bing in the last 90 days, we've finally, for the first time, seen Bing share just begin to grow. It's small, but it's now growing.
And you're opening up to more people. Obviously, that's going to help expand that even more. So I guess, the biggest rival in the 800-pound gorilla in the room here is Google. They're going to host their I/O developer conference. Is there fear that Microsoft and Google are getting into an even greater race? How does Microsoft kind of assess that threat that it may pose to Google?
Yeah, I mean, for us, the way we think about it is we're really in an enviable position. The search is needing a disruption. We're a very distant player, as we just talked about. We have great new ideas. We're a first mover in this market, and we're not, struggling with innovator's dilemma. We can go and change the nature of search, and we can run fast on that and do it well. And I think that's beneficial for us. It's tougher if you're the incumbent, but I think at the end of the day, the consumers are going to benefit from this, increased competition.
And just as a final, I know the White House held a meeting today with Satya, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, as well as Sundar Pichai over at Google and others in the AI space, just to discuss legislation, potential legislation, and kind of what AI guardrails need to be put in place or don't need to be put in place as far as innovating on the technology. I guess, how does Microsoft view that? If Satya is taking part in the discussion, obviously it's got to mean that he's on board.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I would start by saying, first off, our top priority before we even focus on product features is to make sure that we're doing responsible AI technology development. That's at the center of what we do. We published now for many years a set of principles upon which we do technical development that touch on things like transparency of information, safety of information, making sure that technology is inclusive of people. And we grade all of the work that we do against those principles before we release it. Then we do a bunch of technology work, enhancing special work to protect against safety and guardrails in it. And then ultimately, it is about bringing it to the market, like we've done with Bing and with Edge, to get user feedback, because we believe you need to do this out in the public. People need to be able to see it and use it and critique it, as opposed to have it be done quietly in the lab someplace and then just flip a switch. And one of those important things is working with governments and regulatory bodies, which we also believe play an important role to make sure that the technology is safe and accessible for people, protective of kids and the like. And so we are absolutely happy to participate in those dialogues and do the work we can to bring this great technology to the world.